So the book I picked was Teacher as Cultural Workers by Paulo Freire. Why this book? So from the list of book options, the title caught my eye, Letters to Those Who Dare to Teach. And after my first year of teaching, I dared to teach. Because that first year of teaching is really hard. And then I read the Amazon review of it and I was just sold on the book. In his book, Paulo's goal is to challenge educators to reflect on the act of teaching as well as the meaning of learning. He writes from his lifetime experiences as an educator. And with this being my third year of teaching, I was looking for a book that may give me new insight into the instruction. I wanted to learn from the experience of others and what I could do differently in my own classroom. So about the author, he was born from 1921 to 1997. He was a Brazilian educator and philosopher, and he wrote a lot about the oppressed. He developed theories that could be used in third world countries. His goal was to bring literacy to the poor, and he is most well known for his big pedagogy of the oppressed, which has been banned and blacklisted numerous times by different governments who find this book to be dangerous. So this book is written in letters from Paulo. The letters are full of inspiration, ideas, tools, and methods of teaching, but the letters can be quite repetitive. Through his letters, Paulo speaks to teachers about his experiences as an educator. The letters are intended to show teachers that a teacher's success depends on the teacher's commitment to continue to learn. Paulo argues that teachers are learners also, and he also tries to convey that teachers are political agents and that teachers can either take an authoritarian or democratic approach to teach their learners. Based on the teacher's instructional approach, Paulo argues that students' political views are influenced. So some of his main points, I believe: teachers as politicians. As a teacher, Paulo discussed that as a teacher, teachers are political agents. Not only do teachers teach math, science, geography, and history, but it also involves overcoming social injustice. Paulo emphasized that a teacher's teaching has an impact on students' political views. Qualities of a good teacher. Teaching is a learning process, and some of these qualities may need to be developed. So some of the qualities that Paulo argued that a good progressive teacher has is humility, common sense, tameness, courage, tolerance, patience, and joy. Humility helps teachers to stay humble, not a know-it-all. It allows teachers to listen. And without love, teachers' work will lose its meaning. Teachers should take note of what intrigues their students and observe how their students learn. And teachers should be mindful of students' cultural and social backgrounds when they're teaching. And then the last point is the relationship between teachers and students. The relationship between teachers and students is very complex. Teachers should try to relate to their students, but not try to control them. Teachers should empower their students and empower them so that they can make a change. Teachers should talk with their students instead of talking to them, and should hear their students instead of just listening to them. How this book supported my knowledge. I think the qualities that he talked about throughout the book of a good teacher, such as being humble, loving, patient, and tolerant. This may be far-reaching and possibly overgeneralizing his statement, but when I came into my classroom, I replaced a teacher that had been in that room for 5 years and was very well liked by her team. All the instructional assistants remained. Coming in was incredibly intimidating for me. I was younger than my support staff, and they had all worked in that classroom under her leadership for 5 years. And then here I come with all these crazy new ideas. So that first year, just being humble, showing love, being patient, and being tolerant went a long way. My first year, I asked my support staff a lot of questions and sought their advice about the students because they worked with them the longest, about problem-solving strategies for behaviors, visuals that will work well and communication methods that work well. And through my actions and the work that I put in, my team saw that I loved what I did and that I loved working with these students and I really wanted the best for our students. Put in a lot of effort to make them independent, strengthen their functional communication skills. So they knew that I was there for the kiddos. Learn something new. Teachers are learners also. This also kind of supported my knowledge, but it kind of reminded me that, we're constantly learning also. And being a teacher is hard, but it's incredibly joyful and rigorous. It requires emotional and intellectual preparation. Teachers need to not only love others, but the process of teaching. And to dare to be a teacher requires courage. Courage to dare to try something new, courage to love, and courage to speak. Teachers should learn about their students and the methods students use to learn. And teachers should continue to learn the latest and newest stuff so that they can bring it into the classroom to help their students. My biggest takeaway is hear students instead of listening to them and talk with students instead of talking to them. I believe the statement can be applied in any classroom. I teach students with significant disabilities and are unable to verbally communicate. So to me, all behavior is a form of communication. So as I'm teaching my students, I need to constantly observe and be aware of my learners and just be mindful and as well as remind my team to not talk down to them, but to always lift them up and empower them. As a teacher, teachers need to be in a relationship with their students and provide them with an education that is relevant to their lives and concerns, not the VAP I disagreed with. I'm not really sure how I feel about the statement teachers are political agents. I never really considered the view of teachers being political agents. Paula repeatedly pointed out that the way a teacher teaches influences students' political views. I may be able to see this being applied to history teachers or civics teachers, but not necessarily other content areas such as science, math, or reading. Paula mixed argument throughout his letters that as a teacher you are either for democracy or not. Teachers may exercise radical democratic forms of teaching or authoritarian. Teachers can either tell their students how things work or provoke and help their students to learn how it works. I personally do not think the teaching method of a teacher determines a student's political perspective. I think students are more influenced by their family's political view more than their teachers, or even more influenced by their peers or what's happening on social media. I think teachers can dampen or hinder students' political views by not allowing them to express it in the classroom, but I don't think the method of instruction influences their political views. How this book influenced my teaching is just to constantly hear my students and what they're trying to say to me. As a teacher, I need to hear my students, not only their verbal language, but also their nonverbal language, instead of just listening to them. Students should not be subjected to only a teacher's dialogue, but instead teaching students should share in dialogue in this conversation back and forth. This gives students an open and free climate to express themselves in the classroom. Paula believes that by listening to and learning to talk with the students, that students will learn to listen as well. Recommendation. I don't know, maybe. This book is not exactly what I thought it would be about. I was expecting letters about teacher encouragement, student learning, teaching strategies, or tips and tricks for the classroom. A lot of it's very theoretical, not a whole lot of research based. And, there are some encouraging parts in the letters, but it's not what I was really expecting from it. So the content was good, but the sentences were long and wordy. As I said, the book had its encouraging moments and challenges teachers to reflect on their instruction. And some of the letters were really good from chapters 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But it can be dry and repetitive. So I'm torn about making a recommendation for this book. Maybe yes, based off of those letters. So yeah. There's my references, so thank you.